California Governor Gavin Newsom trying to spread the gospel of his failed progressive policies to a red state near you. The liberal leader showing up in Republican-led states to bash GOP governors as evil fascists.
The problem in our country right now? Authoritarian leaders who are so hell-bent on gaining power and keeping it by whatever means necessary. No, we have a big battle coming, which is why we'll help lead the fight to make sure we elect leaders in 2024 who believe in democracy. What's happening in those red states? It's not who we are. It's un-American. It's undemocratic.
You know, Greg, the un-American, the undemocratic part, it's really amazing to me. Here's a guy who decides that, I guess, California is all good, so he's going to spread the word to red states.
Yeah, it's like somehow it's more American to let people die on your streets. It's more American not to arrest people. Gavin Newsom is basically flinging mud while he's neck deep in a sewer. He talks about authoritarianism in red states, but who is more free? There's nothing less free than a lawless state. The only thing worse than a police state is no police at all state. It's a criminal state. He governs a criminal state. You know, it's one, and if you look at the most dangerous places on earth, South Sudan, DR Congo, there are no laws. They're as free as hell, but they are hell. That's what when you see certain parts of California where his friends don't live or where he doesn't live or the Pelosi's don't live, they look like a fourth world country if those indeed exist. I don't know. California is a fourth world country.
Yep. Okay, Harold, Newsom's move sounds a lot like I'm running in 2024.
I think he has said that he's going to stand down Joe Biden, but maybe I agree with you. This is certainly rhetoric where you're like almost as if you're trying to define the choice in an election. I'm not surprised by some of this, nor am I surprised by the reaction of some. Campaigns are always about the future, and Governor Newsom believes that California represents the future of America better than, I think he put up two governors I saw were Governor Abbott and Governor DeSantis. Governor DeSantis talks a lot about why Florida is great, and he has every right to. He's a governor, and I assume he thinks his policies are the reason why. What I think would be more powerful for any governor, be it DeSantis, Abbott, and in this case, Mr. Newsom, is to do the things you just said. There are real challenges he's facing in his state. I think you're elected president. There was a time, I'm 52, I feel like I'm 92 sometimes when I talk about when there was a time, but there was a time when you ran on your record of what you'd done in your state and why you believed you could do even better things for the country. Governor Newsom has some things to campaign on, but there's some glaring things that we've talked about in the press, from homelessness to crime and other things. If he were able to tackle those, I think in a way that created a positive national narrative, I think his chances would be boosted tremendously, whether he runs this time or doesn't run at all, for that matter.
He never used to be like this, right? No, remember? He wasn't this crazy.
I think he's always been a little crazy.
I think it's recent that he's gone woke. And when he was mayor of SF, he wasn't this nutty. Anyway.
Oh, all right.
He's been a conservative Democrat. He was on the wing of the Clinton wing of the party.
Yeah, but that's good. That part of him is dead.
You know, it's amazing that he criticizes Florida. He criticizes Ron DeSantis. I mean, it's pretty clear DeSantis is someone who's going to be running for president. But how can he make an honest argument when they're trying to sexualize kids in Florida, you know, allowing them to read books? It describes how you have sex, et cetera.
Well, he's not making an honest argument. He's a politician. So he's like the second string quarterback who has to stay loose in case something happens to the starting quarterback. And Biden's not announcing he's running, it looks like, until the fall or, late summer. So Gavin is just waiting in the wings in case anything shakes out with Joe, and he ran it by Biden. He told the White House he was going to campaign in these red states. If he was campaigning in swing states, that would be more threatening. But he's going to deep red states, still connecting with donors, still testing out lines, getting his legs loose, but he's not really threatening the White House. If he was doing big foreign policy speeches in South Carolina, big economic speeches in New Hampshire, the Biden White House would say, cut that out. But they're allowing him to do this out of respect and just out of the slight chance that Joe doesn't run. He is distinguishing himself, though, as a cultural warrior on the left, the way Ron DeSantis is viewed that way on the right. This is his brand. And I don't know if people really love that. Outside of California, that doesn't go over well.
Well, you know, California, Martha, is one of the states where people are moving from, not moving to.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You know, I think people don't always understand when they make these kind of arguments is states' rights.
Yep.
Right. So the people in the states that he's talking about are A, choosing to move there in the case of Florida or Texas, and B, they are voting on referendums. They're voting on all of the laws that take place in their state, and they're choosing that state because they like the way it works, right? So they're not necessarily choosing California, and businesses are not choosing California. The taxes are sky high. The regulations are sky high. It's onerous to run a business in California. So, I mean, you know, you can say that these people are authoritarian, but the fact is that people are choosing to move to those states and live there for the reasons of how they're run.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.